We start, and first we're going to talk about the United States of America because the most important updates are coming exactly from this area. Yesterday, talks between the American and the Ukrainian delegations took place. The White House wanted to resolve differences with Ukraine on two of the most fundamental peace plan issues, territory and security guarantees, as early as yesterday. So yesterday, the United States of America were planning to resolve all these issues. At the talks in Geneva last Sunday, the parties reached fundamental agreements on all but two issues. The White House wants to resolve differences on these issues. The Ukrainians know what we expect from them. A senior official stated a Ukrainian delegation has begun a meeting with the American side in the United States to discuss steps to achieve a just peace, Umerov said the head of the Ukrainian delegation. So once again, talks took place on the territory of Miami, and we have lots of very interesting updates about this. And this is the first footage from the Ukraine-US talks in Miami. Secretary of State Rubio made a statement before the meeting. This isn't just about peace agreements, but about creating a path forward that leaves Ukraine sovereign, independent, and prosperous. As the Secretary of State said, Rubio added that this is about ending the war in a way that creates a mechanism and a path forward. Axios reports that the White House intends to resolve territorial and security guarantees issues today. Furthermore, the sources stated that the United States of America also were talking about the presidential election process. Marco Rubio called the ongoing talks with Ukrainian representatives in Florida productive. A Ukrainian settlement requires long-term security guarantees for Kiev. Even more work is needed in the negotiations on the Ukrainian settlement. Russia must become part of the equation for the Ukrainian settlement. Witkoff will travel to Moscow to achieve this. The sources reported that he will travel to the Russian Federation today, and he is going to have talks with the Russian Federation on the 2nd of December of 2025, right exactly at the anniversary of the 2021 ultimatum that was issued by the Russian Federation almost 4 years ago. We discussed the situation yesterday. The US takes a realistic view of the Ukrainian negotiation process. The Florida talks concerns not only the immediate settlement but also securing Ukraine's future. The Ukrainian side also made a statement regarding talks. We have concluded a difficult but productive negotiation session. We have made tangible progress towards establishing a lasting and just peace. So, as we can see, according to these words, everything is okay. We see that maybe the Ukrainian side and the American side found a way how to resolve issues. But right after the meeting ended, the President of the United States of America made a very interesting statement. He said that Ukraine has some problems. There is corruption going on. There is no deadline for the end of the war in Ukraine. So, these words seems that are completely about different things, but not about the productive negotiations between the Ukraine and the United States of America. Words made by the President of the United States of America means that there is a person in Ukraine who doesn't want a peaceful settlement of the conflict. And most likely he was talking about Zelensky, not just about a person who doesn't want to stop the conflict. He was also talking about corruption. And Zelensky, from his side, of course, didn't had some, let's say, things to do as well. And yesterday, while the Ukrainian delegation had talks with the US delegation, Zelensky had several phone calls with his allies. And first of all, he talked with the NATO Secretary General Rutte. There are important days and much can be changed. Much can change, Zelensky said after a conversation with NATO Secretary General Rutte. So Zelensky most likely was asking Rutte a simple question. He was asking whether Ukraine will be able to continue the special military operation, the war with the Russian Federation, without support from the United States of America. And it seems that he received some obligations from the General Rutte and from the NATO countries. So we understand that maybe the United States of America understands currently, or they just recently has started understanding this simple, let's say, simple thing that first of all, for the United States of America, maybe it's better to replace Zelensky if they want to finish the war with the Russian Federation. And the sources are saying that the NABU, the anti-corruption agencies of Ukraine, may threaten Zelensky with criminal cases in attempt to remove him, according to the Ukrainian publication Strana. The position will be vacated for an active speaker who can legitimately sign a peace agreement with the Russian Federation, the publication notes. So it seems that the United States of America may try to remove Zelensky if he doesn't accept demands of the United States of America, and if he doesn't accept the demands of the Russian Federation. But you know that Zelensky, according to my opinion and according to opinion of different experts, is not the only problem for the United States of America. Because today we got a very interesting article published by the NBC News. Ukrainian soldiers see Trump plan as capitulation even as they dream of peace. Even if ordered, the Ukrainian armed forces will not leave Donbas. Trump's plan is capitulation, a Ukrainian soldier told NBC News. So the truth is simple. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers along the line of combat contact who is fighting with the Russian Federation every single day. And despite the fact that they has problems with supply support, that they dream of peace, they will never accept the reality where they lost the war with the Russian Federation. I'm not saying about, let's say, every single soldier in Ukraine, every single, let's say, but obviously there are probably maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe even 100 soldiers who will never accept the capitulation or any peace agreement with the Russian Federation, and they will continue fighting with Russia. Of course, these 100 soldiers will never be able to hold the lines and, let's say, against the 1 million army of the Russian Federation, but these soldiers can retreat and withdraw their positions from the line of combat contact, and let's say these soldiers can move in the western direction with the purpose to establish, let's say, a front line somewhere on the western bank of the river of Dnipro, let's say somewhere along the M21 road. So because obviously the European Union and the NATO countries will also never accept the loss of the special military operation. They will try to get as many as possible benefits from the situation. Yes, the NATO countries and the European Union is not able to support Ukraine alone without the support of the United States of America, because Ukrainian army is too big, 1 million of soldiers, and they needed to be paid salaries, and not just them, but people through Ukraine also needed to pay salaries, and the front line is very far from the European borders and from the NATO countries. So that is why, if everything goes according to the US and the Russian scenario, obviously several hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers can retreat from the line of combat contact and to establish another front line, but this time somewhere in the western Ukraine, because the length of the front line in the western Ukraine, let's say along M21 road between the settlements of Vinnytsia, Zhytomyr and Korostyn, would be just 400 kilometers in comparison with the current front line, where the length of the front line is more than 1,000 kilometers, and Ukrainians and the Europeans and the NATO countries can continue fighting, but this time just for, let's say, independence and sovereignty of just the western part of Ukraine, of joining the western part of Ukraine to NATO and the European countries.